Welcome to a new episode of new releases from the Australian country music world. This is Sunburnt Country Music. My name is Sophie. Sunburnt Country Music is my enterprise. I'm the only one here running it. That's why it's taken me a few weeks to make another episode about new releases. It's just hard to fit everything in, but I'm doing my best because I want to bring you new Australian country music tunes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are seeing my computer screen reflected in my glasses. This is me at home, making it all on my lonesome, so it's not technically perfect, but again, doing my best because I want to bring you the new music. There have been quite a few songs released since I last made an episode, and I do keep cumulative playlists on YouTube and Spotify for each calendar month, so you can check in on those if you want to find out what has just come out rather. But this new releases podcast is for me to tell you about songs that I think are worth your time and attention. And the first one I'd like to speak about is Marlboro Man by two-time Golden Guitar winner Kirsty Lee Akers. It was co-written in Nashville with Hall of Fame songwriter Byron Hill, and it explores the bittersweet nature of falling for someone who ultimately doesn't stay. Kirsty produced the song alongside Paul Bain, who is a member of her band, and it has backing vocals by the wonderful Melody Poole, who has her own extensive catalogue of great music. So please go and check out Melody. And I also have to say that Kirsty is one of the greatest live performers I've ever seen in this country. She is really awesome. And that's not a word I use often because it can sound a bit trite, but she really is. She's been performing live since she was a child. When I interviewed her a little while ago, we talked about her musical background. Her whole life is steeped in music, and you can really tell when you see her live. She's completely relaxed on stage, which would come from that long performance history, but also completely in command. And as an audience member, that is a real treat. So quite apart from the musicality of her, she is going to give you a great performance. So go and see her live if you can. You will very much not regret it. Ruby Shay is an artist from the central coast of New South Wales, and she released her debut single Sinner in late 2023. I interviewed her around that time because I was really impressed with the song, and then she kept releasing impressive songs right up until the release of her album Hitch this year. I spoke to her about that album a little while ago, and you can find that interview on the podcast, either on YouTube or on podcast platforms. And the last single, I think she said it was the last single from the album, is Our Blue Home, which has been a live favourite at her shows, and it explores the ups and downs of long-term relationships with humour and warmth. Ruby has a band called The Red Horse, so you will see her credited alongside The Red Horse for her songs and the album, and she's a lovely live performer as well, so we do have quite a few of them in this wide brown land. We're very lucky. When Jimbo Stokes released his debut single Atlas a little while ago, I was immediately intrigued. It was not a traditional country song by any means. He has since released quite a few more country-ish songs, but Atlas was, I wouldn't say inspired, because perhaps the wrong word, because the story behind it was the death of his mother when he was quite young. And when she was quite young, accordingly. So Jimbo is an artist from Scone in the New England region of New South Wales, and he's had some opera training, and you can hear in his voice that he has this knowledge of how to use it, and it has a wonderful tone to it. So really interesting singer, releasing a really great brace of songs since the start of his career. And this particular track, Made Up Mine, is a track with attitude that addresses the frustration of mixed messages in relationships. It was co-written with Phil Barton, who's an Australian songwriter in Nashville, and it was produced by Jackie McCormick. Prior to this, the single Jimbo released was Hold On, Let's Go, and that has been his highest streaming single to date. He also had a sold-out show at the Tamworth Country Music Festival in January this year. Piper Butcher from Newcastle in New South Wales will be familiar to many of you who saw her on Australian Idol perhaps last year, and also those of you who love great music, because she's been releasing quite a bit of it since she started when she was in her teens. I think she's only just out of her teens. Her voice just gets better and better, I think. I saw her play live not that long ago in Sydney supporting Wade Forster, and thought, I've seen Piper play a lot of times, and her voice sounds the best it ever has. And I always hesitate to say something like that to an artist, because it's akin to saying, oh, well, you weren't that great before. That's not at all what I mean with this. She's always had a great voice. It's made more great and more interesting by the fact that she has a cleft palate, and she's had surgery in the past. When I first interviewed her about 3 years ago, she just had surgery to help repair the cleft palate because singing had actually forced it apart. So I think maybe having that has helped her in some way understand her voice better and know how to use it. She certainly is onto something special with the voice and also with her guitar playing. She prefers playing electric guitar with her band. She's also great with acoustic. So it just means that whatever permutation of Piper you see live, it will be very, very good. Now, her new song is called Start of Something, and it's the title track from her second EP. It was inspired by the story of a woman who wrote a book, and Piper saw this woman speak at the Newcastle Writers' Festival. So that's what led to the writing of the track. It was produced by Casey Chambers and Brandon Dodd at Rabbit Hole Recording Studios on the Central Coast of New South Wales. Lauren Ryan is a country pop superstar, at least as far as I am concerned. She is a former Toyota star maker. She has a knack for writing great melodies and songs that you can tap your toes to, but that also can be really bittersweet and heartfelt. The latest is called A Little Bit Country, and it tackles the question, what even is country music? With nods to Beyonce's recent country album, the track features acoustic guitar, banjo, and a 90s energy reminiscent of Shania Twain and the Chicks. It was written with Michael De Lorenzis, who is half of M Squared, which is a production and writing outfit, I think you could call them, in Melbourne. The other half of M Squared is Michael Painter, and they're doing some really interesting things in the country pop space in particular. So this is A Little Bit Country by Lauren Ryan. I'm sure you'll like it. There's something in the water in Queensland. Every time there's a new country music festival, it tends to be in Queensland. There are lots of good artists coming out of Queensland, and one of them is Josie, who I've interviewed a couple of times, at least maybe 3 times before. And her biggest single to date was Freight Man, which has had over 5 million plus views/uses on TikTok. Josie likes to write about trucks because the Freight Man of the title of that song was her father. So she grew up around trucking. And her latest song is called Nothing Without Truckin'. And it pays tribute to the essential role of truckers in our national infrastructure. It was produced by M Squared, Michael Painter and Michael De Lorenzis. So here they are again. It is always worth paying attention to what they do because they just seem to keep producing hits, like Josie's Nothing Without Truckin'. A quite different song to Josie's is Willing to Try by alt country act Hazel and the Thief. This is a ballad about feeling unseen and unheard in relationships. It was written by vocalist Hazel and produced by Matt Fell, who is behind many albums that you would know, including all 3 by Fanny Lumsden thus far. The track features Ollie Thorpe on lead guitar as well, and it paves the way for a slew of releases leading to a full album later this year. When I first heard a song from Melbourne 6-piece Sweet Talk, I knew it was pretty good. And when I interviewed them, I've interviewed them twice now, I could tell why it was pretty good. They are a band that is very committed to rehearsing regularly. They're a very cohesive unit, and they just have this great love for what they do, but also this really relaxed sense around the music they make while being incredibly professional as well. So they've been described as a southern boogie band. I think they've just got some like 70s grooves, and they like to jam when they're performing live, and they performed at quite a few festivals now. They're becoming festival favorites. Anyway, they have a new song called Stoned in Texas, Queensland from their album Switch On, which will be released on the 23rd of May. And also this month, they are touring with American act Red Clay Strays. The last song I'm going to tell you about in this episode is Magnolias by Western Australian artist Savannah Solomon. I have interviewed Savannah about this track and other things. That's not yet posted just because I haven't had the time to get it up, but I loved talking to Savannah. She was so interesting. Not only is she a musician, but she is a FIFO grader operator at an iron ore mine, Magnolias is a bit of a reference to Steel Magnolias, the movie. And she loves that movie. She also wanted to write this track as a tribute to the strong women in her family, particularly her grandmother. And it's a lovely song. I think you'll really enjoy it. And once I've posted the interview, please go and watch it or listen to it because I think you'll enjoy hearing about Savannah as well. So that wraps it up for me for this particular episode of New Releases. I do hope I can do it more frequently. I do enjoy collating it all to bring it to you, even though it is quite a bit of work, a bit more work than I had anticipated when I set out to do it, but I am determined to continue. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thanks for being here with me.